The Four Seasons private dining room dripped with old money pretension. Crystal decanters caught afternoon light while Chicago's most privileged family, mine, unfortunately, gathered for the quarterly Blackwood Trust meeting. I adjusted my second-hand blazer, feeling the familiar weight of being the family's greatest disappointment. "Oh my God, who let her in?" My cousin Sloane's voice cut through the permeating chatter. "Meline actually showed up." I kept my expression neutral as I took my seat at the massive mahogany table. Around me, 13 members of the Blackwood family shifted uncomfortably, designer labels rustling like nervous whispers. "She's still technically a beneficiary," Aunt Catherine stage whispered, her Hermes scarf fluttering with disapproval. Though heaven knows why Harrison didn't cut her off years ago. Harrison, my father, didn't look up from his iPad. He hadn't really looked at me since I turned down a partner track position at Blackwood Capital to start my own investment firm. That was 5 years ago, 5 years of being the cautionary tale at family gatherings. "Meline," my brother James called from the head of the table, his voice carrying that special mix of public school polish and private condescension. "The trust meeting is for active family members, people who actually contribute to the Blackwood legacy." I opened my laptop, not the latest MacBook like everyone else's, but it served its purpose. "I'm still a shareholder, James. However small my stake might be." Sloane laughed, the sound sharp as broken glass. 3%? Barely enough to afford your rent in Logan Square. She gestured to my clothes with a perfectly manicured hand. "Though clearly you can't even manage that." If they only knew the truth about my struggling investment firm, Meridian Capital. If they could see the real numbers behind the algorithm I'd spent 3 years perfecting, the one that was about to reshape the entire financial sector. "Let her stay," Harrison finally spoke, not looking up. "Maybe she'll learn something about real success." Real success. I thought about the email I'd received this morning from James' firm, Blackwood Capital Partners, begging for a meeting with the mysterious CEO of Meridian Capital. They had no idea that the Blake they were so desperate to meet was sitting right here, wearing a Target blazer and cursed with the Blackwood name. "Now then," James continued, straightening his Rolex, "let's discuss the trust's performance this quarter. As you can see from the reports." I tuned out his self-congratulatory speech, instead pulling up my own data. Meridian's algorithm had predicted every major market shift for the past 18 months. We'd quietly accumulated controlling interests in key tech firms, renewable energy startups, and yes, several of Blackwood Capital's most promising investments. "Especially exciting," James was saying, "is our position in TechFuse Solutions. The IPO next month should double our initial investment." I bit back a smile. TechFuse IPO would never happen. Meridian had already acquired 51% through a series of shell companies. The announcement would hit tomorrow morning, right after I reveal myself as the actual owner of the year's most talked-about investment firm. "What's so amusing, Meline?" Sloane's voice dripped with disdain. "Found a coupon for business suits that actually fit." "Just enjoying the meeting," I replied mildly. "Tell me, James, have you looked at TechFuse's actual financials, or did you just follow the market buzz? ***. The room went quiet. James' jaw tightened. I don't need investment advice from someone who threw away a career at Blackwood to play day trader in her apartment. Interesting perspective. I pulled up another screen on my laptop. Because according to SEC filings, Blackwood Capital just requested an urgent meeting with Meridian Capital, something about needing emergency funding for, what was it? Oh yes, unforeseen market volatility. Color drained from James' face. "How did you know about that?" "I make it my business to know things." I stood slowly, smoothing my off-the-rack blazer. "Like how Blackwood Capital's last 3 major investments were based on manipulated data, or how the trust's record returns are mostly creative accounting." "That's enough," Harrison snapped, finally looking at me. "If you're just here to cause trouble." "Oh, I'm here for much more than that." I turned my laptop around, displaying Meridian Capital's true portfolio. "I'm here to save this family from itself, whether you like it or not." Sloane leaned forward, squinting at the numbers. Her perfectly contoured face went slack. That's not possible. These returns are very real," I finished. "Would you like to know what else is real?" The fact that your entire firm is about to be audited by the SEC. Unless. Unless what? James demanded, his arrogance cracking. Unless she takes a meeting with them, Blake. I smiled, enjoying the confusion on their faces. I hear she's very interested in acquiring distressed family firms. Aunt Catherine clutched her pearls. Blake, the mystery billionaire everyone's been trying to meet. The very same. I began packing on my laptop. I said, her office will be in touch about that meeting, James. Oh, and Sloane, I paused at the door. This blazer? It's actually Armani. I just let you think it was cheap because your snobbery makes you sloppy, rather like your investment strategy. I left them sitting there, stunned and silent, knowing that tomorrow would change everything. The email would go out at 9 a.m. sharp, revealing Blake's true identity. By lunch, the financial world would know that the year's most successful investment firm was run by the Blackwood family's greatest disappointment. But first, I had a stop to make, the same coffee shop where I'd sat 5 years ago after walking away from Blackwood Capital. It was where I'd written the first lines of code for what would become the most powerful financial algorithm in the market. The usual Ms. Blake. Marco, the barista, was the only person who knew both my names. Thanks, Marco. I settled into my corner table, the same one where I'd built my empire in silence. My phone buzzed, probably James or Harrison, finally putting the pieces together. I let it ring. Tomorrow would come soon enough, and with it the complete reshaping of the Blackwood family legacy. But tonight, I'd enjoy my coffee and remember how it felt to be underestimated. Sometimes, the biggest mistake a family can make is not recognizing the power of the person they've written off. The next morning, I arrived at Meridian Capital's downtown office an hour before sunrise. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a pristine view of the Chicago skyline, the city still sleeping, unaware of the earthquake about to hit its financial district. Everything's ready, Miss Blake, my assistant Sarah said, setting a coffee on my desk. Unlike the Blackwoods, she knew both sides of me. Meline, the outcast, and Blake, the billionaire. The press release goes live in 30 minutes. I nodded, scanning the morning's reports. Blackwood Capital stock had already started slipping, whispers of instability spreading through early trading in Asian markets. James must be panicking by now, right on cue. My phone buzzed. Harrison Meline. His voice was tight, controlled. We need to talk about yesterday. Actually, Dad, you might want to turn on CNBC first. I kept my tone light. Something interesting was about to happen. Before he could respond, Sarah appeared in my doorway, tablet in hand. It's time. I ended the call and turned to the wall of screens dominating my office. Right at 9 a.m., the news broke across every major financial network. Breaking. Meridian Capital founder revealed. Blake identified as Meline Blackwood. Mystery billionaire Blake connected to prominent Chicago family. Meridian Capital announces acquisition of TechFuse, blocking Blackwood Capital IPO plans. My phone exploded with notifications, messages from family members, journalists, industry analysts. But the one that mattered most came from James' private number. Emergency board meeting, 10 a.m. Don't you dare ignore it, I smiled, straightening my actual designer suit, Chanel this time. No more hiding. Sarah, call my car. Time to crash another family meeting. The Blackwood Capital offices occupied the top 3 floors of a sleek downtown tower. I'd worked here once, back when I was trying to be the daughter Harrison wanted. Now, I walked through the marble lobby as a conqueror, not a conformist. Miss Blake, the security guard nodded, using my chosen name, not my family one. One word traveled fast. The executive floor was chaos. Assistants rushed between offices, phones rang unanswered, and the usual polish of a top-tier investment firm had given way to barely contained panic. Thank God you're here. Sloane ambushed me by the elevator. Her perfect makeup couldn't hide her desperation. You have to fix this. The market's in freefall. Fix what exactly? I stepped around her. Your failed due diligence, the over-leveraged positions, or just the general incompetence. The boardroom was packed. Every Blackwood who mattered sat around the massive table, faces pale beneath their expensive tans. Harrison occupied his usual place at the head. James stood beside him like a guard dog. I settled into a chair, smoothing my skirt. "This feels familiar," I said. "Though usually I'm the one being lectured about responsibility." "How dare you?" James slammed his hands on the table. "You deliberately sabotaged this family." "I saved this family." I cut him off. "Would you like to see what would have happened to Blackwood Capital without my intervention?" Sarah, my assistant, distributed tablets showing projection models, the slow but inevitable collapse of the firm under James's leadership. Bad investments, missed opportunities, and a fatal inability to adapt to changing markets. "This is impossible," Aunt Catherine whispered, scrolling through the data. "These returns, Meridian Capital's growth, is very real." I confirmed. "That algorithm you all mocked, the one I wasted time developing instead of following the Blackwood path, it's revolutionized predictive market analysis. While you were chasing the same tired strategies, I built something new." Harrison hadn't spoken yet. He just stared at the numbers, decades of certainty crumbling before him. "The TechFuse IPO," James's voice was hollow, "is dead. Meridian owns controlling interest now." I leaned forward. "Along with majority stakes in half your portfolio companies. Would you like to know what else I own?" Sloan made a choked sound. "The algorithm predicted all of this. Every move, every failure, every opportunity you missed because you were too arrogant to look beyond your own assumptions." I stood, commanding the room just as Harrison had taught me back when he still thought I was worth teaching. "Now we have two options. One, I continue acquiring your assets and Blackwood Capital becomes a cautionary tale in financial journals. And the second option," Harrison finally spoke, "a merger. Blackwood, Meridian Capital, your legacy and my innovation." I pulled up another document, but with some significant changes in leadership, the room erupted in protests and accusations. I let them rage, remembering all the times I'd sat silently while they dismissed my ideas, mocked my choices, treated me like a charity case instead of the powerhouse I'd become. "Enough." Harrison's voice cut through the chaos. He looked at me, really looked at me for the first time in years. "You planned this all along." "I planned to succeed," I corrected. "You're the ones who made it personal. Every snide comment about my clothes, my apartment, my choices. Did it ever occur to you that I lived modestly because I was investing everything in building something revolutionary?" James sank into his chair, deflated. "The mystery billionaire everyone's been chasing? Our own sister, cousin," Sloan added. Weakly. "All those times we invited you to charity galas and seated you by the kitchen." I smiled. "Yes, I remember. Just like I remember every time you called me the family mistake. Tell me, who's the mistake now?" Harrison stood abruptly. "What are your terms?" I distributed the merger proposals I'd prepared months ago. Full integration of Meridian's technology, complete restructuring of leadership, and a new direction for the Blackwood legacy. One based on innovation, not inheritance. "And if we refuse?" "Then I continue acquiring your assets until there's nothing left to merge." I met his gaze steadily. "Your choice, Dad." Though I should mention, the market's still falling. The next hour was a blur of negotiations, legal terms, and wounded pride giving way to survival instinct. By lunch, the merger was announced. Blackwood Meridian Capital was born, with M. Blake, not Melline Blackwood, as CEO. "One more thing," I said as the lawyers packed up. "Those monthly brunches you all love so much, the ones I could never afford to attend," Sloan flinched. "Melline, I own the restaurant now. In fact, I own the entire block." I gathered my things, savoring their expressions. "Next month's reservation has been canceled. You'll have to find somewhere else to discuss my failures." The aftermath was everything I dreamed of and more. Financial networks ran endless stories about the algorithm that changed investment banking. Profile pieces praised the visionary leadership of M. Blake, the outsider who revolutionized an industry. The Blackwoods adapted, as old money always does. Suddenly, they'd always seen my potential, always supported my dreams. Funny how success rewrites history. Harrison tried to apologize in his way. "I should have seen it," he said during our first official board meeting. "You're more of a Blackwood than any of us." "No," I corrected him. "I'm something entirely new." "That's what you never understood." I kept my old laptop, the one they'd mocked as outdated, and put it in a glass case in my new office, alongside the Target blazer and those first lines of code. A reminder that sometimes the biggest mistake a family can make is underestimating the quiet one, the different one, the one who sees a different path. Sloan and James eventually found their places in the new organization. Smaller offices, smaller titles, smaller egos. They learned to knock before entering my office, learned to value innovation over tradition. And those monthly brunches? I still don't attend, not because I can't afford them, but because I'm too busy building something bigger than the Blackwood name ever was. Sometimes success isn't about proving your family wrong, it's about proving yourself right. And sometimes the greatest revenge isn't taking over the family business, it's transforming it into something they never imagined it could be.
The end.